Can we start with Devon Kennard? He was obviously the first big piece you guys brought in for the pass rushing linebacker role. Here we are at the bye. He's played real well, 5 sacks. What has he brought to that unit?
Yeah, he's he's obviously a big, powerful, guy. Very good, is a outside edge player, whether it be a 4-3 defensive end or a 3-4 outside linebacker. His skill set is there. He has great passion. He has great passion for football and great passion for his position. He's a guy that, constantly works on the little things like his footwork, his hand placement, recognition of formations, situations, So he is, he's developing into being a very solid. He's been consistent, each week. He's, the same guy every day,
With Ziggy missing so much time in the first 5 weeks, how big has it been for you guys to have some of these new guys stepping up as they have Kennard, Corn?
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like all these guys get brought in.
Yeah.
Really help pick up the slack.
They have. They've really, they really have helped us pick up the slack, and have been, getting a little better each week. Getting a better, feel for it, and especially Romeo, who was fairly new. So that's been, that's been important. It's been really important for us.
How much do those guys divide time between defensive end and outside linebacker during the season and meetings and all that?
Yeah.
How do they divide the
Well, it's really, whether you're in the 4-3 or in the 3-4, there's a lot of carryover and there's a lot of similarity in the techniques and the fundamentals. So, they just do both. They're doing both each day. And we've always done it that way. Me personally, as a coach, regardless if it was pro football or college football, we always, trained both systems. So they work on it every day, both. You can do it.
Are you surprised at all by Deshaun Hand and how much we've seen him flashing all over the place, but particularly in the backfield? I mean, he was so highly recruited going into college, and just maybe didn't meet the expectations there. It seems like right away he's really fit well into it.
Yeah, he's coming on. He's getting better. He's got a long way to go. Obviously,
Sure.
He's a rookie who's been around for 5 games. So, hopefully everything's ahead of him. But he's working hard at, again, the techniques and the fundamentals of what they do, their toolbox, how they play the position and what they need to play the position is the issue. Whether it's Kennard or it's Ziggy or it's Hand or it's Ashawn, no matter who it is, Slay, on and on and on and on. When you have problems, defensively, it's usually technique and fundamentals. You usually can trace it back to that. So he's a young guy learning his craft, and hopefully we'll keep getting better and better.
We saw Nevin Lawson in the slot a little bit more the last game. I think when he was first brought in here, that was kind of an idea for him, but he never really fit. That really was always on the outside. How do you like his versatility developing going
No,
forward?
I like it. I like Nevin's versatility. Nevin has been a consistent, steady guy, regardless if he was outside or the game plan called for him to go inside, which it has a little bit. He's a physical player. He's good in zone. He's good in man. His versatility has really been useful for us.
How's that physicality work for him in the nickel in particular?
Well, I think that any time you can be physical and you can get your hands and reroute receivers and impede releases and force the run and be involved as you have to be with a corner and a nickel, in the run game as well. I think it just really, it really, really helps if you've got that kind of guy. It really does.
You had LeBlanc in at the end there. What do you like about him so far?
He competes very, very hard. He's learning the system and the fundamentals and the techniques. But I like the way he competes. He competes hard.
Your pass rush, your secondary have played well. The run defense obviously has been a weakness at times. And being able to diagnose.
Yeah, like I said, when there's issues, you usually go back and you look at, what the structure of things was and where the breakdowns were. In the run defense, like the pass defense, is a team thing. So it's not just the guys up front. It's not just the linebackers. It's just not the secondary. It's everybody. And I've said this, and I've always believed this. So you look at the overall thing, and you can trace it back to techniques, or we lost leverage here, or we didn't have the alley guy there, or whatever happened. And then sometimes it's situational too. And we were fortunate a couple times this year to be ahead and be leaning more towards the pass, and they ran the ball. Happened a little bit on Sunday. And so for me, sometimes in those situations, you're leaning a little bit more, you're a little bit more heavy on the pass, you're a little bit more lighter on the run, and you're just trying to minimize the damage, and you get 2 or 3 of those runs, and they make 25 or 30 yards on 2 or 3 runs, and now all of a sudden the run statistics are a little bit different. But for me, all right, the number one goal, you have goals, defenses have goals, and special teams has goals, and offense has goals. You want to limit them to so many yards per attempt rushing, and you want to limit them to so many yards per pass attempt, and you want to be a low percentage on third down, and you don't want them to score in the red zone and all. But the number one statistic at the end of the day is the score. And I think sometimes you got to, especially in this league, I think sometimes you got to keep that in mind. And you're trying to do as a team, it's a complementary game, where offense and defense and special teams are working together. And at the end of the day, everybody's got to put their ego aside, okay? And we've got to do what's in the best interest of the team to win the game. And that's what counts. Now, all that other stuff, is great. How many sacks do you get? I mean, how overblown is the issue of the sack statistic in football in this day and age? I mean, let's not be more concerned on how many sacks we have than points we have, or how many points we've given up. Okay? Those are the real issues. And whatever you have to do so that the scoreboard says you've got one more point than they have, okay? That's what you got to do. And then the next week, go back and start over again, and figure it out again.
Bringing it back to run defense, do you have a goal in mind, a yards per carry or anything like that?
Well, here's an efficient run. I mean, it's not rocket ship science, right? So an efficient run on offense is 4 yards. Okay, if they make 4 yards a run, as an offensive coach, for all those years I was the head coach at Syracuse, I'd say to them, let's run the isolation play and let's make 4 yards. And then let's get back in the huddle and feel good about that 4 yards. Okay, because if we go 4 yards, okay, now it's 3rd and 2, and I can call a play on 3rd and 2. Okay, so defensively, I'd go in the defensive huddle and I'd say, okay, now they're trying for 4, we're 3. It's 3 or less now. Okay, so we go 3-3. Okay, now it's a little bit more difficult for them. They can't run it 3 times and make a first down. They got to get, the 4th down. Okay.
Are you aware right now how often you hold offenses to?
I would say this. I would say from an efficiency standpoint that we are. I haven't done the exact statistical thing, but I would say this, that we're working very, very hard, okay, on being where we want to be. And our goal as we move forward, okay, will be to get better at that every single week. And at the end of the day, if you can eliminate the big run, and when you look back at the New England game, there was no big run. And when you look back at this game, there was no huge run, big run. Okay, 20 pluses. Okay, those are big runs. Explosive runs are around 12. Okay, so it's amazing in those games where you don't give up those big plays. Okay, how well you do.
I mean, you talk about wins. You've won the 2 games. You've held teams to under 100 yards, right? So,
Right.
I mean, when your run defense is held, you guys have won games.
Yeah, we've won games. And you know, it's for years you get up in front of the team and you say, okay, what do we have to do this week to run? I mean, to win. So what's the first thing you say? Every week. I mean, I've been doing this for 45 years. For 45 years, every Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever that day is, college or pro football, I get up in front of the defense and I say, okay, here's what we have to do this week to win the game. And the first thing I always say is, you got to stop the run. Regardless, you got to stop the run. So it's the same. And that's, the guys have been great. They're working, you know, they're working hard at it. I personally think we're getting better, and I think we're very close to being able to get this thing to, you know, consistent. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to ask about Ziggy. People focus on the sacks and his pass
Yeah.
rush, but he's good at setting the edge and very good in run defense.
Strong, he's explosive.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you missed that aspect of his game in the run defense? Is that
Well, you know, Kennard is pretty good at it, you know, and is Romeo, and we've got 2 good guys there who are getting, you know, really pretty good at it. Now, of course, you're always going to miss a guy like Ziggy, you know, but we're getting, you know, we're getting to the point where I think we're making progress.
with the bye this week, is there anything you can do, self-scout or
Yeah. Yeah.
developmentally,
Yeah.
personally as a coordinator to
Yeah.
as you think about the run defense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. You know, you go back and right now, you know, on my computer, I'm working on just what we're talking about. You know, how many runs have there been? Okay, and how many times have we been efficient? And how many explosive plays have we have? And what are those issues? So this is a great time this week to take a good look at those. Go out and when you practice, you know, you practice a couple times this week. You know, card those things up or get the offense to run those things against you. You know, and go out and work on those things because, you know, this is a copycat league. If you've got a play that you're vulnerable to on the film, you're going to see that play every single week. You're going to see it every week until you stop it, and then the week you stop it, they'll probably try it one more time. And if you stop it that week, then it'll probably go away. But if you don't stop it like 2 times in a row, right? And it's the same thing with a pass. It's the same thing with anything else. Okay? They're going to find it. They're dying for plays. Those offensive geniuses are all dying for plays. So they watch the film and they say, oh, that play looks good. And they go up to the board and they write it on the board. And that's how they create, at least in part, of the game plan. Because I did the same thing. I would watch their film and I'd say, oh, that play looked good. I'd go put it up on the board. You know, make me look like a genius. You know, that type of stuff. So that's how it goes.
Paul, you'd like to have Ziggy back, but
Yeah.
can you survive without him? Can you still be the defense you want to be if he doesn't come back?
Well, you know, we're trying hard to play next man up, you know, and regardless of if it's Ziggy or whoever else it might be, you know, get the next guy ready to go and get him in there. And, you know, I'm the kind of guy, but probably not very smart, but every week I'm extremely optimistic that they're not going to score and we're going to win, you know. I mean, that's just the way I am, you know. I just, in my mind, we're going to keep them out of the end zone. You know, we've got all these areas of the goal chart that we want to be great at, and all those things, you know. So I think we can. You know, I think that obviously would love, you know, we're looking forward to getting him back. He's focused and he's working hard. He's in the meetings, you know, he's with us every inch of the way. So when he comes back, you know, we'll get going. You know, get him in there, get him going. In the meantime, we can't sit around and, you know, feel sorry for ourselves. We got to go and get it done. And, you know, the development of the guys you have is fun. And, you know, you work with them and you go out and it's a challenge and you go take on the challenge and, you know, go win the game.
Your two best defensive games have come against Brady and Rodgers. Has there been a different level of focus against guys that maybe aren't the best quarterbacks of all time? Have you noticed that at all from
No.
guys?
No, I don't think so. I think we've been pretty focused. I think we've played pretty hard, you know, each week. Just, you know, just unfortunate that we didn't come out on top in a couple of those other games, you know. It's close, You know, it could have gone either way. It's the National Football League. Margin of error is about, I don't know how thin I can make it, but it's about like that. You know, and that's the way it is. You know?
You mentioned obviously the run, and that's the emphasis, stopping the run. But you know, some people made a big deal about you not having any sacks in the preseason, the first couple of games. But now, you know, you're right up there with the leaders. What has been the secret sauce or whatever that's led to all this pressure?
I've always felt this way. You know, and again, I'm going to make this statement that the sack is way overblown. The score is more important. I'm going to say that again. But I've always felt that the sack is a result of the front and the coverage working together. You know, the rush and the coverage working together. You know, it's just the way it is. I mean, you know, if the guy isn't covered and you're blitzing, you know, and the guy's wide open, in this league, that's a complete ball. I mean, regardless how much you pressure. So the guys in the back end, the linebackers got to keep it tight, and the guys up front got to go. You know.
When it comes to the pass rush, is there a stat you like more, you think is more accurate when it comes to measuring a pass rush?
You know, I've always felt this way. Okay, I've always felt this way. On defense, we have two jobs. Okay, I've already stated the first job. Okay, stop the run. All right, the second thing you always, each week, find yourself saying, right after you say stop the run, is make the quarterback uncomfortable. Okay, I think it's more realistic to say that you can have a chance to make them uncomfortable, okay, than it is to go in there and sack them X amount of times, okay? So how do you make them uncomfortable? You know, maybe it's the coverage, maybe it's the disguise, it's certainly the rush, it's certainly the collapse of the pocket, you know, making them throw off his back foot, not giving them lanes, you know, to slide and to push up in, and then a lane to throw the ball in, close those lanes off. Mirror the throwing hand of the quarterback. You know, as a defensive line coach, I always taught him that as I'm rushing the passer, the good guys I've been around, the real good pass rushers, and I've been lucky as hell to be around some Hall of Fame pass rushers, they had a knack for always in their vision knowing where the quarterback was. Now, they might be rushing, but if he was over there, they knew he was over there. If he was over there, they knew he was over there. And those guys had an uncanny ability that when he put the ball up, they put their hand up in that lane, you know, and whether it's tipped by a defensive lineman or it's knocked down by a DB, that's a PBU, as far as I know. That's a pass broken up. So all of those things, to me, create an atmosphere of the quarterback is being made to be uncomfortable. And personally, overall, that scheme right there might be more important than the sack.
So when you evaluate the tape from last week, when like Rodgers is flushed out, has to throw up his back foot, throw it out of bounds, do you grade that or consider that just as good as a sack because you affect the quarterback in that way?
Absolutely. You affect the quarterback that way. It's a third down off the field, or it's a turnover, or whatever it is. I mean, you know, those are big plays. So those, to me, those things all go into the issue of production. You know, the production issue of the player, the production issue of the defense, the scheme. Okay, I think all those things you've got to consider all those things, and I think they're really important. I mean, you play a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you know, it's so hard. You know, if you can just do something to affect them a little bit. You know, Brady the same way, right? You know, any quarterback. You know, if you can just affect them a little bit, somehow, some way, figure it out. You know, but it's all important. It's as important as the sack. I'm going to at least say that. Okay, I'm at least going to say all that culmination of trying to be effective is important.
Last question, guys.
You mentioned Romeo helping you in the run defense and the edge. He played, I think, 90-some% of the snaps this week. Sean Hammond's out there 70-80%. What do those guys do? Even just from a matchup, not having to sub in when you're facing a hurry-up offense, or do you have guys that can be out there that much and move around a lot?
Yeah, move around, and they're able to play, you know, regardless of the down or distance, you know, some of these teams, you know, they're no-huddle teams, they're hurry-up teams. You play a guy like Rodgers, you got to be real careful when you substitute, because if he sees a guy coming in, he might run him to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball, and you may be paying dearly, you know, for trying to get that guy in the game. So, that's a factor. That's a factor, you know. Sometimes you just can't get them off the field, and that results in more plays. Maybe you didn't want them to play quite that many plays, but maybe you were forced, you know, you were forced to do that. So that's part of it. Okay? All right, thanks a lot, guys. Great seeing you. Yeah.